Three. Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Jedi Hill, and we're going to be talking about freedom. Today's special guest is Steve Greene. He's been a real estate investor for over a decade. He runs Greene Solutions Real Estate Services, and he's a realtor for Keller Williams. So he's got a whole big montage of working in the real estate sector for what he wants to do for his freedom. Thank you so much for being on today, Steve.
Thank you for having me.
So what got you interested in real estate as your venue for freedom?
Well, my father was involved in real estate in Rhode Island. So I guess you could kind of say it's in my blood. I grew up with real estate and football around me. And that's kind of the two things I know the most about. So it's funny, though, when you're young and you're kind of doing grunt work for your dad. And I always kind of said, I don't want to do this when I grow up. I'm going to get my college degree and I'll be in some big wig firm, a big corporation or whatnot. And sure enough, I ended up doing what my dad does, because he always told me when I was young, freedom, financial freedom and work freedom is the number one thing. And working for yourself professionally is the end all be all. Being able to make your own schedules, being able to make your own money, you can't change that for anything. I can't substitute it. So yeah, basically for me, I went to college. I put myself through school, and after that, I got into medical software consulting, where I was traveling the country, and I was making good money, but I was working like 84-hour weeks. And once my daughter came along, I said, all right, this has to stop. I had already bought my first investment property back in 2012, a double in the West Park area. And I was living in the bottom half, renting out the top.
House hacking for the win.
Yes, absolutely. So that's the way to go. So I stacked up a lot of money, though, in the consulting game. And I said, all right, I'm going to spend this money and I'm going to start picking up properties in the West Park area, singles and doubles, and started accumulating some properties. And then I started getting into flipping houses. And I got into flipping houses about 7 or 8 years ago. And what I noticed was, on the back end of the flip, you're paying significant fees, to agents. So I said, okay,
title companies, the tax man, and then capital gains tax on top of the tax for selling the property.
Yeah. So I said, I got to try to cut out some of this cost. So I decided I'll be the middleman here. And I went and I got my real estate license. I did that about 5 years ago, and I've been on with Keller Williams citywide the whole time. I really like it there. I probably would never leave unless I was going to an 100% commission brokerage. Because essentially I generate all my own business. I don't really get much of anything from Keller. So I love working there, and they're great people. That's the only way I would leave, is to get a higher commission split.
Or start your own brokerage.
Or start my own brokerage, which is also in the works. I'm getting ready to start brokerage school here at Hondros. Being a broker is very easy. All you need is it's a couple grand for the classes. You need a college degree. You need a clean record of felonies and whatnot, and it's pretty easy to get the brokerage license. So that's next in the works for me. But as far as my real estate path, I've kind of delved into a lot of different departments. I've been in the residential sales sector. I've been in the commercial sales sector, multifamily. I've owned commercial apartment buildings myself. I've been in property management. At one time, I was managing over 40 doors. I kind of changed my strategy due to just having some medical issues and some stress of the property management and dealing with tenants. And I did it for so many years. I said, I'm going to switch up my strategy and kind of focus on flips and Airbnb. And that way I won't have to deal with as many tenants.
Well, and you make good points, because you had, just like I did when I was younger, that hustle culture until you burn out. And then you realize hustle culture doesn't work. And the smart players, real estate is a team sport. You're going to
Yes.
have your construction people doing this, your other people doing that, and just step by step. Like I know with our one 13-plex, I did a large portion of the remodeling myself.
Yes.
And I've done everything from foundations to roofing in between, but I didn't want to climb up on that roof.
I don't blame you.
Like no, we'll hire somebody out for that one, and hired out crews because we got that one right as the 2020 pandemic was hitting and the cost of materials went.
Yes. I did a roof one time and I said, never again. I picked the wrong week to do it. It was like 95 degrees. I said, oh man, I understand why these guys charge what they do.
Oh yeah.
But I hear you, because like for me, if you want to get into renovation as part of your real estate journey, you have to save in labor costs. I do all my own painting. I do all my own prep. I do all my own demo. I do all my own Home Depot runs. Now I'm a bit of a hack when it comes to tiling and drywall. So I have people that do all that skilled labor. But if you could just do all the little things yourself, it's unbelievable the amount of money and labor costs that you will save.
I agree. That's why one of my goals this year is I'm hunting, and if any of you are watching this or selling your construction company, please let me know, because I'm looking for one that's got good W-2 employees, because it's the only way I can see to control costs to really grow to that next level is to vertically integrate and have all the pieces of the puzzle.
Yes, absolutely. Now, one of the things I've done just recently, which I never did up until the last year or so, is I took on a construction company as partner in some of my flips. So it controls costs that way. And it also enables me not to, because normally I'm the GC and I'm there every day and I'm on boots on the ground, know everything that's going on. So it enables me to step back a little bit and try to look for deals. So that's one thing that I've kind of gone into a little bit.
I'm freedom.
Yes, yes. Yeah, you and I were talking about that earlier. Financial freedom is awesome, but time freedom is just as important. The ability for me to be at all of my children's events, the ability for me to have date night with my wife, the ability
Very important,
for me,
guys. Make sure you remember that one.
yes, absolutely.
Happy wife, happy life.
Yes. Oh yeah. And to be able to vacation whenever you want without having to say, hey, can I take these days off? Or go to a wedding, a family wedding, and say, oh, can I take, I don't ask anybody permission for anything. I make my own schedule. I do my own thing. And if you have a good work ethic, you can do that. And you don't need a company to push you or a boss to push you to get your goals accomplished.
I'm right there with you. It's taking that personal responsibility, that initiative, but also knowing yourself and knowing what your limits are. Like me and my honey, Anna, we do our best to take a vacation every month. I mean, the goal is for a week vacation. It might, 1 month, it might only be 3 or 4 days, but it's just generally to keep us fresh, because we end up going like 6.5 days. Got to give a little bit for the Lord's Day,
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And that's just to avoid complete burnout, because it's like, I love what I'm doing, because we have the real estate we're doing, and then like myself for the inventor, working on the blocks for the new Atlantis project. And for those watching, you see the map behind me. All the areas around the countries is the line of the EEZ, which is each country's exclusive economic zone that goes 200 nautical miles out. Outside of that, the open ocean is where you can actually be free on planet Earth at this point in time.
Yes. And that's one of the things that drew me to you. Well, first of all, the name Jedi was, I'm a huge Star Wars guy. So right off the bat, I go, I got to see what this guy's all about. And with me, what I try to do with my social media, don't have a huge social media presence, but what I try to do is with who I follow, I try to follow like-minded people that I can tell kind of operate the same way as myself. And the one thing that impressed me about you is your vision. I really look forward to seeing what you do in the future with that.
Thank you. Yeah, because without vision, the people perish, King Solomon.
Yes.
And you mentioned on the name, and I know I have people ask me this all the time, is your name really Jedi? It's like, yes, it's short for Jedediah, which is the name God gave to Solomon through Nathan the prophet. So it was his secret magic name. It also relates back to the Egyptian for the column or pillars that hold up the heavens, which relates back to the spine of Osiris, which is a straight middle path. And there was actually an ancient Jedi order of warrior monks, which is what the Star Wars is based off of by George Lucas.
Well, that's amazing. And so I learned something new today. But more importantly, though, you do love Star Wars as well, right?
Oh, absolutely. He's writing it off of history. That's why it relates to everybody.
Yes,
And
that's awesome.
as a physics nerd and all those different things, there is but one force that pervades the universe. And whether you call that electromagnetism, light, sound, we've shown they're all the same thing and go back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's funny how stuff like that, because you get Aristotle, know thyself. And the more you understand about yourself, the more you understand about the universe itself, and it just makes everything a game. Eventually get to the point where, we're talking here freedom, you actually get the freedom between your ears to focus on what you want. You don't have these doubts, these worries, you just, go out and do it.
That's where it all starts. Absolutely. Once you get that freedom in your mind and that confidence in your mind that you can go out and do something, that's what it's all about. Like for me, with my real estate journey, I've taken different, paths along the way. But like for me, when I started becoming an agent, I said, oh man, I don't know if this is going to be for me. I don't like dealing with the public sometimes. But within the, I think, second or third year, I was selling 27 houses in a year. And like you said, the ability to, once you know yourself, it's easier to figure out how other people think and relate with other people and be on the same wavelength as them. And that's the important thing in real estate. When you're dealing with clients, you have to know what their concerns, fears, and goals are, number one, and put those ahead of anything you would think yourself. But at the same time, you're a tool for them to get any kind of knowledge and to bounce any kind of ideas, off of us. So yeah, I like that.
Yeah, you got to learn your customer, learn your audience, and it's a never-ending process. So you've got yourself, you've adjusted, you're doing more, still some flips for cash flow, the Airbnbs for the residual income. I know you talked to me before here about, expanding and buying farms so you can put more Airbnbs on them and create like destination retreats, which is a really cool idea.
Yes. Yeah. For me, in my Airbnb time frame has only been a few years that I've been doing it. I've had a couple Airbnbs in Sandusky. One I've got is beautiful. It's right on the water, right next to the Jet Express ferry. So it doubles as an island vacation where you can come back at midnight, and stumble right next door to my place, or you can go to Cedar Point, or any of the water parks for day passes and stuff like that. But the Sandusky area is a 6-month season. So I long-term my stuff from November 1st to May 1st just to cover my mortgage. And then I make all my money in the summer and through hollow weekends for Cedar Point. So my thing was, as I take all these vacations with my family, I'm constantly going down to Mohican and Hawking Hills. And I just love to hike. I love the beauty of it down there. But more importantly, it's a year long. You see the way the bookings go down there. People love to have a fireplace in the winter and a hot tub and snuggle up in a cozy cabin. In the summer, they love to hit the river and kayak, and then they love to hike. So in the fall, they love the foliage and the leaf changes. So it really is a year-long thing. And like you and I were talking about before, the land is the most important thing. If you have the beautiful parcel of land that has flexibility where you can add structures to and a water source, like you said, that's makes a huge difference. So I'm kind of on the hunt right now down in the Hawking Hills and Mohican area, to find something like that. Now, the problem with some of those areas is myself, I'm a cash buyer for most all of my properties, and I use my own cash. My own cash I've slowly grinded and saved over the years. I try to avoid using bank money because you know what kind of bite they take out of us for everything. But if you want to sometimes you need to, like, you
Mhm.
know, sometimes you have to be able to leverage bank money. You have to have a great credit score. And for properties like that, if you want to use an investment loan, a lot of times in a rural area, they won't grant it.
Mhm.
So you need to find and research the right areas if you want to use an investment loan that you can kind of do that in.
Well, the loans are a neat topic because, okay, yeah, you have the slight bondage from being beholden to the bank. But if you are doing a good cash flowing place where, it's the good debt where tenants are paying off the mortgage, which is always nice.
Oh
It
yeah.
also gives you legal protection, which is interesting. Like, say you own the house hacking, which I recommend for everybody. We could bring 25% of the country out of poverty just so people would house hack more for the 2 to 4 units. Say somebody, heaven forbid, slips and falls on the ice on your sidewalk. They try and sue you. The lawyer realizes, hey, they got a mortgage on this. There's no equity in the property. The lawyer won't even bother with the lawsuit because there's no money. But
Right.
if you got a paid off house,
Yep.
they know they can go for the entire equity in that property. So it's
Oh, yeah.
in a way, it's kind of a defense. And when you're
Yes.
taking the loans, that's tax-free money because since Nixon took us off the gold standard in 1971, money became debt. So savers became losers.
Right. Right. And you're right. I'm a dinosaur. I'm one of the few people that avoids the bank at all costs. But that being said,
With a banking crash
sometimes you have
coming, you
to.
have the potential. It has pros and cons both ways.
Yes, yes. For my apartment building, I definitely had a loan on that one. And as you know, in Ohio here, our multifamily is considered 2 to 4 units. Anything over 4 units now comes into the commercial realm. And as you
Mhm.
know, when you're in the commercial realm, they take a bite out of you. The appraisal and the inspection are going to be 8 times the amount of a residential
Or
appraisal
more,
or
depending on how big
inspection.
the apartment is. Yeah.
If you buy commercial hot water tanks, you're now looking at 3 times the cost of a regular hot water tank. A commercial boiler is going to, I mean, everything in the commercial game adds up. But that's why if the numbers work, you can really make some great monthly residual income. As long as you don't have the massive amounts of vacancies and the numbers work, you can really kill it in the commercial game.
I know I'm looking out towards, since we're here in the Northeast Ohio market, the Cleveland Clinic area is about the only part on the east side I really look at.
Yep.
And then the better suburbs, just because the Cleveland Clinic has all the, you know, millionaires and billionaires coming from around the world to have the heart and lung surgeries because they're the number one in those two specific areas.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking at your Airbnbs, they're getting flooded and overdone. You have to be in more resort and specific areas, or you're not filling them up, and you might as well just rent them out normal.
Right. Right. I've noticed that. I've seen a lot of the out of state investors come in and try Airbnbs in the city. Some of them have done okay if they're in the right, like Ohio City area or whatnot. And some of them I've noticed haven't. And like you said, Cleveland Clinic's a big thing, but you can't just hope for travel nurses only. There
Well,
has
well,
to be a destination around, like you said.
well, that's where Cleveland Clinic's a little unique because you get quite a bit of the Saudi Arabia families and
Oh
the other
yeah.
Middle Eastern.
Yep.
And when a family member comes for surgery, you have the whole family
They
coming
all
to
come
rent for a
together.
couple of weeks. So
Yes.
right there by the university is still good, not just for the nurses, but also all the patients.
Yep.
You know, we have the airport, the international airport here, and anything you can get directly waterfront helps for the travel destination.
Yeah, yeah. That's the good thing about if you're in the right area in Cleveland, yeah, you've got the clinic for the off months to lean on, but then you've got the Rock Hall in the summer, you've got the Browns in the fall, you've got the Cavs now who are kicking butt and taking names again. So we do have nice draws as well as the Pro Football Hall of Fame, which is a little farther south over by your building, probably in Canton.
Yeah, well, and Zillow rated the Cleveland market the number 2 in the country right now
Yes.
because you can still get cash flow.
Yes. And you know what else? USA Today just voted Sandusky the #1 small coastal town in the United States. So that's another, I'm tooting that horn for my Airbnb.
Nice, Sandusky. And it is beautiful resort area. You know, you
Oh
can either
yeah.
do the Cedar Point or you can go up to like the Putin Bay for the drunkards and everything else.
Yep.
And those little party islands that, you know, kind of keeps the drunkards contained so they don't go too far.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've hit all those. So what are your next steps? Like, we know the market is going completely crazy. We've had to have the bank collapses, the Fed's raising interest rates. We have the new BRICS currency coming out in a few months. What are your plans to hedge against what's coming?
So for me recently, I have limited my time that I've spent with buyer clients because it's a tough game and you can waste a lot of time doing that as an agent. So I've kind of tried recently to switch more to find more listings than buyer clients. But for me, the hardest part has been trying to find flip properties. The last 6 months, it has been brutal. I try every avenue I can. I know probate lawyers. I know I go on all the Facebook community pages. I try to use my own network of people that I've known my whole life to reach out and say, hey, do you have any relatives looking to get rid of any distressed properties, anything that people can't take on or don't have the energy or they're too old to fix some property up. I scour the ends of the earth. And as you do too with the wholesalers, I spend, unfortunately, too much of my time looking at off-market properties that are pieces of garbage. But that being said, I look at 100, I'll find a needle in that haystack. I'll find one in that 100 that I can make some good money off of, and it's worth it to me.
Oh, I feel you. I'm going to pick on my honey here, see if she pays attention to this one later. I just had one. I put an offer in for a fourplex on the west side. It was West 85th, and I'm curious which one of you sharks grabbed it on her because she did a rookie mistake. We went to go look at it. I had signed the contract, but the seller hadn't yet. She posted a picture of it, us going around, and somebody outbid us and got it.
Oh, man. I hate when stuff like that happens. Listen to what happened to me recently. So I had this a flip house in Bay Village, and a friend of mine lived behind the house and tipped me off to it. So this was a probate situation, which is where I find a lot of my properties because the families just don't want to deal with, you know, the problems and the beat up house and whatnot. And so I come in and say, hey, I'll make this painless for you. I'll get in 12 days. I'll give you cash, no inspection, no appraisals. I know what I'm looking at. So I had gone in there. I got the house verbally under contract for 160, and they were getting the probate was being finished on Monday. So they were going to be able to have everything done on Monday. So if I was smart, I would have gotten them under a contract right there. And in the contract, put some sort of verbiage about once probate has cleared on Monday, you know, we agree to go into this deal, blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking, these are good people. You know, I'm just going to wait till Monday and then we'll get the contract locked in. Well, it happened that an agent from my brokerage lived across the street and went over there the next day and offered them more money. And so I didn't end up losing the house, but I ended up paying $13,000 more than I was going to originally get it for. And that
well, that's at least you lucked out and they still went back to you. It's like, hey, we got a better offer, and that
they felt bad, but making, you know, 40 grand, I could have made 53 grand. So, you know, it hurt.
Oh yeah, it totally hurts, but at least it wasn't a total loss.
Right.
And that's the part of these things. Like I'm such an honest, trustworthy person. I got to remember I'm swimming in sharks,
Right.
And when you're swimming in shark infested water, you better be a killer whale.
You better get some paperwork. Yep.
Yeah, because I come from the old school, like, you know, a handshake was your word. That's all it takes.
Yep.
And I still will do that and keep my word.
Right.
But, you know,
Not
most of the
like
people
that.
in the millennial Generation Z or the sharks, they don't do that. So I'm definitely going to keep picking on that realtor for, like, could have at least told me let me counter something. Don't just throw me out.
Exactly. And that's actually his duty, to get a counter from you. So he didn't do his duty as an agent and to get his client the best offer potentially.
Mm-hmm. And he was going, I was going right to the listing agent, so he's getting double commission anyways. So it's
Right.
like,
He's
why
already
wouldn't you
got a
not
nice
try
deal.
and start a bidding war?
Yeah. Yeah.
But his loss.
Yeah. And you live and you learn. As you know, in real estate, you learn from your mistakes and you try not to keep making them.
Mm-hmm. And that's a big one right there. You get it under contract. Don't give too many details out, things like that.
Yep. Keep it close to the vest. Yep.
And you do what you got to. Like, I know I'm working on a marina on the East Coast, so it's like I'm talking to people for investors because it's going to take 2 million down just to close the thing. And even with like flipping an apartment complex or something, it's like, what people don't get for real estate is you don't always have all that money. It's invested in this deal and that deal and that deal. It is not liquid. You can't just get it out today. That's why
exactly. I always know what my net worth is, but a lot of times money's tied up. Are you guys doing a 10 or 20% down for that marina?
Oh, marinas are different. They're like 30 to 40% down.
Oof, okay.
Yeah. Marinas are a specialty thing. But they're also part of the infrastructure for travel. Though to give people visual, it's kind of like an RV park on the water.
Right.
Because you don't own the boats. If they don't pay their, storage fees or whatever, you can go to get the money back from them or get to own their boat if they don't pay the money. So
hey, I like that.
You don't have as much lost rent because people love their boats.
A boat's worth a lot more than a bunch of crappy stuff in an old storage unit, right?
Absolutely. People get rid of their wives before their boats half the time. Right. But yeah, and thank you for sharing some of those little mistakes. And we all hit these different things because these are bumps along the way to freedom. Freedom is not free. It takes personal responsibility and discipline and learning continually.
Absolutely.
To have that liberty to have the resources to do what you want when you want to do it.
Yep.
So, Steve, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you? And what are some last words of wisdom you'd like to give them?
Last words of wisdom, I would say you got to be tenacious in this game. You're going to have ups and downs. Don't let it, you got to keep pushing because this industry is not for weak people. You have to be strong mentally. That's the best piece of advice I would give. In order to get a hold of me, my email is Steve Greene with an E on the end, 82 at kw.com. KW is in Keller Williams. I sell for Keller Williams citywide. We are the #1 brokerage in Northeast Ohio. We did over $1 billion last year, over 400 agents, but I'm one of the better ones in the brokerage. So you want to call me if you need any help, if you need to find anything that's on market. The Jedi can help you with anything off market, anything like that, but anything that's on market, holler at me.
Go talk to a realtor. I'm not a realtor. I'm just buying. I'm an investor myself. So
right.
I try to avoid the conflicts of interest, which is why I never went the realtor route myself. But Keller Williams is really cool. Our mutual friend Aaron Thomas just posted Keller Williams thing for 1 in 5 home sales in 22 was from Keller Williams.
Yeah, it's crazy.
20%.
Yeah.
So they at least give you a good bit of training.
We're kicking butt and taking names. Now, here's the thing. They give amazing training. I unfortunately didn't capitalize on as much as I should have. And I kind of learned from other agents that I had been working with before I became an agent. So for me, when I came in there, I said, listen, I'm an investor first, agent second, and I need my time as an investor. So I'm not going to come to many events or many trainings or anything like that. And they were fine with that. They knew I could produce. They knew my reputation. So they were all good with that.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. You have your thing. It's like you got your license so you can sell your own deals. You're not just focused on trying to find buyers and take them around to 50 houses. It's like, it's not pretty enough. I don't like the kitchen. Or blah blah blah.
Right. I work with a lot of investor clients. Yeah. So.
And that's something personally I love. Realtors that know how to work with investors, because for us investors, it is all about the numbers. Give me, show me that money.
Yeah, investors speak a different language than regular people. And so to have another investor as your agent is huge because we think the same way. So it makes a big difference. Where some of these residential agents who, you know, pardon my French, don't have a pot to piss in and haven't been in the business that long, they're not going to understand renovation costs. They're not going to understand ARVs. They're not going to understand the way that we look at deals is completely different than a residential family who's just falling in love with the property. And so, yeah, it's a different game.
Well, exactly. An investor, I'll give the good little joke here. It's a little off-colored. Okay, you know how the Christian Bible, the people talk about heaven and hell. Well, the Jews, they don't have heaven and hell. They have wholesale and retail. And you never pay retail because that's like going down to hell.
I like that.
And that's the investor mentality.
Yes.
You never pay retail. Like if it's on the MLS and I'm buying it, it's either something that came back on market because it didn't sell the last time, or it's got so many repairs they can't get an FHA loan, so they'll actually negotiate the price down.
Yes. Yep. That's where I find a lot of stuff.
Well, thank you so much, Steve, for coming on. Again, everybody, make sure you like and subscribe down below. Get more things on freedom, you know, real estate, finance, mental freedom, time freedom, what we can do to give you the knowledge to improve your freedom. It's Jedi signing off. Let's stop this recording.
Thanks for having me, and I look forward to seeing you at the investors event.